As I stood behind the decks, the pulsing beats of my techno set filling the air, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. This was my element, the place where I truly came alive. The crowd's energy fed my own, and I lost myself in the rhythm, my fingers dancing across the controls with practiced precision. But just as I was reaching the climax of my performance, I noticed a well-dressed man in the VIP section signaling me over. Intrigued, at A end of my set and made my way through the throng of people, wondering what this stranger could possibly want. The man introduced himself as Dimitri, an agent with the Slovenian Secret Service. I listened, my heart racing, as he laid out a shocking proposition. Apparently, my best friend Stan, the famous EDM DJ, was actually a secret agent for a dangerous far-right terrorist group. Dimitri asked me to plant a USB drive on Stan's laptop during our next gig together, a drive that contained vital information to help dismantle this terrorist network. I was stunned, my mind reeling. There was no way Stan could be involved with something like that. He was one of the good guys, someone I trusted with my life. But Dimitri showed me the evidence, and it was overwhelming. I knew I had to take this seriously, even if it meant betraying my closest friend. Back in my apartment, I pored over the information Dimitri had provided, searching for any inconsistencies or signs that this could be a setup. But the more I dug, the more convinced I became that Dimitri was telling the truth. The evidence against Stan was simply too compelling to ignore. As I sat there, the weight of the decision I had to make pressing down on me, I realized that I had no choice. If what Dimitri said was true, then countless lives were at stake. I had to go through with this mission, no matter how difficult it might be. The day of the big EDM festival arrived, and I found myself backstage, nervously awaiting my set. Stan was there, his usual infectious grin plastered across his face as he greeted me with a bear hug. "Ro, my man, I can't believe we're finally sharing the stage again. This is going to be epic," he exclaimed, his enthusiasm palpable. I forced a smile, my heart pounding. "Definitely, bro. I can't wait." As we chatted, I discreetly slipped the USB drive into my pocket, the weight of it feeling like a lead ball in my hand. I couldn't believe I was about to betray my best friend, but I knew I had to do it. When it was my turn to take the stage, I poured every ounce of my energy into the performance, the crowd feeding off my intensity. But as I worked the decks, I kept a watchful eye on Stan, waiting for the right moment to plant the USB drive. Finally, during a brief lull in my set, I made my move. Pretending to fix a cable, I casually approached Stan's laptop and quickly inserted the drive, praying that no one had noticed. With the mission accomplished, I finished my set to thunderous applause. But the triumph felt hollow. All I could think about was the betrayal I had just committed. Back in my hotel room, I paced nervously, the guilt of what I had done weighing heavily on me. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door, and I opened it to find Stan, a concerned look on his face. "Dude, what's going on? I noticed you acting weird during the set. Is everything all right?" he asked, his brow furrowed. I struggled to maintain my composure. "Yeah, of course. Just a little tired, that's all." Stan wasn't convinced. "Come on, Ro, I know you better than that. There's something bothering you." I agonized over my next words. I... I can't tell you, Stan, I'm so sorry." His expression shifted to one of hurt. "What do you mean you can't tell me? We've always been honest with each other." I felt the guilt welling up inside me. "I wish I could, but..." Pauses. "I've done something terrible." Stan's eyes widened in confusion. "What are you talking about?" I took a deep breath, my voice trembling. "The Slovenian Secret Service. They approached me. They said you were a secret agent for a terrorist group." The look of shock on Stan's face was heartbreaking. "What? That's insane. I would never be involved with anything like that." I pleaded with him, my desperation palpable. "I know, Stan, I know, but they showed me evidence, and I had to do it. I planted a USB drive on your laptop during the set." Stan stared at me, his expression a mix of disbelief and betrayal. "You did what? How could you do this to me, Ro, after everything we've been through?" I felt the weight of my actions crushing me. "I'm so sorry, Stan. They said it was for the greater good, that lives were at stake. I didn't know what else to do. His anger was palpable. The greater good? Do you have any idea what you've done? You've just put a target on my back. Pauses, realization dawning. Wait, you said they showed you evidence. What exactly did they show you? I hesitated, trying to remember the details. I, I can't remember all the details, but it seemed pretty convincing. Something about your connections and movements. Stan shook his head, his expression hardening. You're a fool, Ro. Those bastards have been playing you this whole time. I was completely lost. What do you mean? He looked at me with a steely determination. I'm not a terrorist, Roman. I'm an undercover agent for Interpol, working to take down a dangerous far-right extremist group. And now, thanks to you, they know I'm onto them. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks, and I felt my world crumbling around me. Oh God, what have I done? Stan's voice was grave. You've just put both of our lives in danger. We need to get out of here now. We hurriedly packed our bags and rushed out of the hotel, narrowly avoiding a team of armed agents who had been dispatched to capture us. Stan and I jumped into his car and sped away, our only goal being to put as much distance between ourselves and our pursuers as possible. As we drove through the night, Stan explained the truth to me. He had been working undercover for years, infiltrating the terrorist group and gathering intelligence to bring them down. The Slovenian agents had intercepted his communications and planted the false evidence, knowing that I would fall for it and betray my friend. I was devastated, guilt and shame weighing heavily on me. I couldn't believe I had been so foolish, and that my actions had now put both of our lives in jeopardy. We need to get to a safe place and figure out our next move. Those guys won't stop until they find us, Stan said, his voice grim. I looked at him, remorse etched on my face. Stan, I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I was just trying to do the right thing. He sighed, his expression one of understanding. I know, Ro, but you should have trusted me. Now we're both in this mess, and we need to get out of it. We drove on in silence, the weight of our situation heavy in the air. After hours of driving, we arrived at a remote safe house, deep in the Balkan countryside. It was a small, unassuming cottage, hidden away from prying eyes. Once inside, Stan set to work, securing the perimeter and establishing communication with his Interpol contacts. I sat on the couch, my head in my hands, still reeling from the events of the day. All right, Ro, we need to figure out our next move. Those agents are going to be scouring the country for us, Stan said, his voice serious. I felt the guilt weighing me down. I can't believe I fell for their trap. I should have known better. Stan placed a hand on my shoulder, his expression reassuring. Hey, it's not your fault. Those guys are professionals, and they played you perfectly. I shook my head, the remorse clear in my voice. But now we're both in danger because of me. I'm so sorry, Stan. He looked at me with understanding. Look, we'll get through this, okay? We've been in tight spots before, and we've always come out on top. I nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope. All right, here's what we're going to do. I've reached out to my Interpol contacts, and they're going to help us disappear for a while. We need to lay low and figure out how to take down this terrorist group once and for all. I was surprised by his words. Wait, you still want me to help after what I've done? Stan smiled, his trust in me unwavering. Of course, Ro, you're my best friend, and I trust you with my life. We're in this together, no matter what. In that moment, I felt a renewed sense of purpose, the guilt slowly being replaced by a determination to make things right. Over the next few weeks, Stan and I worked tirelessly, piecing together the information we had and devising a plan to take down the terrorist group. We used our connections in the underground music scene to gather intelligence, while also evading the agents who were still hunting us. As we delved deeper into the case, we uncovered a vast network of far-right extremists, with tentacles reaching into the highest levels of government and the music industry. The stakes were higher than we ever imagined, and we realized that the fate of the world may rest on our shoulders. With time running out, Stan and I formulated a daring plan to infiltrate the terrorist group's headquarters and gather the evidence we needed to expose the plot. It was a risky operation, but we knew we had no choice. The night of the mission, Stan and I made our way to the heavily guarded compound, posing as fellow members of the terrorist group. We navigated the labyrinth of corridors, constantly on the alert for any signs of trouble. Finally, we reached the main control room, where we found the evidence we needed. A trove of incriminating documents and communications detailing the group's plans for a series of coordinated attacks across Europe. As we started to download the files, alarms blared, and we realized our cover had been blown. A fierce gunfight erupted, with Stan and I fighting for our lives against the terrorists' heavily armed security forces. In the chaos, Stan was wounded, and I was forced to drag him to safety, narrowly escaping the compound as it went up in flames. We made it to a nearby safe house, where we transmitted the evidence to Interpol and waited for the cavalry to arrive. In the aftermath, the authorities swooped in, arresting the terrorist group's leaders and dismantling their network. Stan and I were hailed as heroes, our actions having prevented a catastrophic series of attacks that would have claimed countless lives. However, the emotional toll of the ordeal weighed heavily on us. I was racked with guilt, still haunted by my initial betrayal, while Stan struggled to come to terms with the gravity of the situation we had faced. In a quiet moment, the two of us sat together, reflecting on the events that had brought us to this point. Stan, I can't even begin to tell you how sorry I am. I betrayed you, and I almost got us both killed, I said, my voice heavy with remorse. He placed a hand on my shoulder, his expression one of understanding. Ro, you've got to stop beating yourself up about that. You did what you thought was right, and you ended up saving a lot of lives. I shook my head, the guilt still consuming me. But I almost cost you your life. I don't know if I can ever forgive myself for that. Stan looked at me earnestly. Listen to me, Ro. You're my best friend, and I trust you with my life. What happened wasn't your fault, and I don't hold it against you. We got through it, and we're still here. I felt a hint of a smile creep onto my face. I guess we make a pretty good team, huh? Stan grinned, his faith in me unwavering. You bet we do. And this is just the beginning. There's still a lot of work to be done, and I need you by my side. I nodded, my resolve renewed. Together, Stan and I would continue to fight against the forces of darkness, using our skills and friendship to make the world a safer place. As we walked off into the sunset, I knew that our story was far from over. The future may hold new challenges, but with Stan by my side, I was ready to face them head on.